I want to ask you, thinking about your debut feature, Summer Survivors, it's a road movie of a sort. It's a journey that we go on with these characters there. This one can also be thought as a journey, but more of an inward journey, getting to know oneself in relation to another person. And both films are not exactly following classical narrative structure and ideas. So I meant to ask you, what attracts you to these kinds of stories that treat journeys and take us on these journeys, but avoiding the usual traps of conventional storytelling, let's say?
Yeah, so first of all, hi, and thank you so much for coming and for staying. And I'm really happy to be talking here with you. And such a good question, because the first thing that came into my mind is that my favorite book about screenwriting is called Writer's Journey by Faulkner. And basically it's probably like from that I learned the most about writing. And the main idea is like every story is a journey. So I always have that in my mind while writing, and it just really helps me because I don't like to know when I start. I don't like to have everything planned out. I know some things. I know the beginning, how it, let's say I knew how they will meet. I knew, some main things about them, but I didn't know what will happen when they start being together. And I was mostly interested in what will happen when they will begin their relationship. So I was probably in a way traveling with them through the story. And I was interested, okay, what will they do? Like, how will they cope with the, problems? How, will they stay together or not? Like, I was just really interested. And I think that helped me kind of to not get bored while writing, because it's, for me, writing is pretty long process, because I like, writing is not long. Like, writing first draft, I can do it really quickly. But then later, I really like rewriting it and, working a lot on the script. So I need to kind of keep myself, interested. So yeah, so it's definitely a journey for me too.
I keep thinking about this. There was this lecture, I think it was a BAFTA lecture that Silenziama gave not long ago, where she described her approach to storytelling as this desire instead of obstacles, desire instead of conflict. So I wanted to ask you, like, where does desire come in for you for this story? Because it's not perhaps the desire that we're used to seeing and expect.
Yeah. I think the main thing for both of these characters, the main desire for both of these characters is to get the connection, to create the connection, and to be seen, because I think that they both love each other and admire each other. It's harder maybe for them to believe that the other person feels the same way. And I think this is where the most, kind of not conflicts, but just these small kind of, what would be the word I'm thinking? Kind of small disconnection happen. So I think the main desire for them to be kind of loved and accepted, and it's probably also for many people and for many characters we could say that, but I think that's because in this film we also kind of really think about it a lot, so I think it really kind of suits them
it comes very immediately as well, because we feel enraptured as soon as we see them, first separately but then together. So can we talk a little bit about the casting of Greta and Kęstutis? Because we've spoken about this before. They have amazing chemistry, and it's kind of awkward to talk about chemistry in a film within the context of asexuality. But can you tell us about whom you found first, and how was it when they first met?
Yeah. So Greta was in my mind when I was still writing. I knew that the actress has to be a dancer, professional dancer, and Greta is very interesting artist in general. She's a dancer, she's a choreographer, she also makes dance films. She's really, really interesting, and I have seen her before in some drama plays, and she just like kind of gets your attention, and you cannot stop thinking about her because she's so I don't know, she's just like, you know, always present. And I had this impression, and I was totally right about it, because the whole time we were working, all the castings for other characters I did together with her. So she was like the best barometer in a way for me to see, is it working with other actors? Because she, like, you can do, I don't know, the smallest change and she will react to it. So I can really feel then with other actors, and especially when we're looking for Dovydas, like I could see, will it work or not? So Kęstutis was the third actor that we invited for casting, and the main thing that kind of made me think that I want to work with both of them was that it was just really fun. Like, we laughed a lot, we read some scenes, we did some improvisations, but it was just I was going back to their videos, just watching them, and I was just like laughing, you know, and I felt that there's this I could believe that there will be a special connection, which is very friendly but also a bit romantic, that there is kind of potential for that, you know, because they really laughed after, and they still laugh because like every time you know, somebody says like, oh, there's such a good chemistry, and if they are talking about the film, they hear this a lot, and they're like, but how did you know? Because they said we didn't feel any chemistry. Especially Kęstutis, because he came in after a leg surgery, and he said, I felt like so, he said, I haven't showered for like days when I came in, like I felt really just bad about myself. And he said like, and I told him that, yeah, I just want to see chemistry, that's why, you know, I'm inviting you together. And he said, and then I just knew it's not going to happen, like I will never get this part. Yeah, so he was really surprised when I called him, and I was like, yeah, do you want to work together?
I have one question about the film's visual style. You work with Laurynas Paresas, who is a very prominent director as well of his own films in Lithuanian, well appraised. How much talking did you do about shot scale and framing? Because you can really notice that at the beginning of the film, they're framed, Elena and Dovydas framed mostly separately. And the first close-up they share is the moment where he takes her hand. And that feels extremely special because, I don't know, we're maybe 20, 25 minutes in the film, and this is the first time we see them in close-up. Most of the time, they are together in a shot, but in long shot. And sometimes it's zoomed in, and we have this movement of the camera. So that exploratory mode of us observing them, it's not static at all. So what were the initial conversations that you were having about how to shoot this love story as it progresses and gets more dynamic?
It's so nice that you noticed it, because I didn't even know it, what you just said. And but it's really, it makes sense, because from everything we talked about, it's kind of truthful, but we never So I work with Laurynas. We studied together. He studied cinematography. We were like in, how to say, parallel, courses.
Same year.
Yeah, in the same year. Then later he also went to study more directing. So we, like, creatively we're very close, and we worked on my first feature film. In some ways, like, I am also involved in his work. So we really have the same language. We never work, let's say, really strictly on the storyboards. Like, we don't, let's say, rationalize too much, but we have few, we create, let's say, few rules for ourselves, or few things to keep in mind, just to be on the same page, as we say, because later when we kind of get into the filming already, our main thing is like, is this from our film or not? And sometimes we can find like a really nice shot, but we're like, it's not this film, right? Yeah, it's not. So I would say what we talked about was this feeling of when you're in love and the time kind of stops, let's say. So we were looking for that a lot in our shots, in deciding, how many shots we need, and thinking about movement also. This, and also thinking about bodies, and thinking about that we are not only telling some kind of, romance story that's only in the heads, but also in a way telling story about bodies. And this was something that he told me when we were just talking in the very early, before we started really like prepping for film. He said, let's not forget that this is also like, we have to think about bodies, like, and sometimes even maybe to kind of step back from them as characters and think about the bodies, if that makes sense. Well, at that time we kind of understood each other. Now it's hard to repeat, but yeah, so bodies and the different kind of feeling of time. Let's say it's different. We wanted it to feel differently when they are somewhere with other people, when it's, or alone by themselves, and when they are together.
I think it's a good moment to open up the floor. I cannot see the very back, but it will help me out. Okay, question here and then one there afterwards.
Thank you for making this beautiful movie. I'm just wondering, like, I feel the dialogues are really natural and it's like the real life, and bring me into this film. And I'm wondering, that did you write the dialogues based on your own like daily life and experience, or you design them consciously?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really love writing dialogues. It's the main reason why I like writing screenplays in general. So in this case, I would say that I do talk a bit similarly, like the characters. But it's probably because these characters, well, we are kind of similar age, we have similar backgrounds, so I think it's kind of easy for me to imagine how they would talk. I think this is one of the plays where I kind of should get a bit better, or would like to get a bit better with dialogues, to look for sometimes more different, to have more differences between the characters. Because I think about that, but then I still kind of fall usually in the traps of just, they are sounding a bit like me. Especially, actually, I noticed that actors, because, when we rehearse, we spend time together. If I don't know, add some words later, or, if I change a scene, I can feel after some time that because they know how I talk, they kind of take, like, it gets easier for them to say it exactly the way that I hear it in my head,
Yeah, see.
Because even, let's see, if I meet the actor for the first time, let's see, the first time that I met with Greta and she read, some scenes, I loved the way she read them, but they still sounded a bit differently than I imagined them. Because when you write dialogue, it's really easy to just imagine your own kind of voice. And it's like, oh, okay, it's a bit different, it's fine. But then after some time, I can hear kind of her sounding more and more like me because the words also like written by me. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yes, thank you.
There's a question there, the gentleman.
Hi there. I'm intrigued how you would describe the role of the nun. In the plot.
This is a tough one. It's a very good question, but it's the question that I still kind of don't. I'm not sure if I know the answer myself, because the scenes with the nun, they came really early in the screenplay, and for some time I was even kind of trying to get rid of her, let's say. And many people were really like pushing that idea, but I just felt that I couldn't. And the more I think about it, probably I just kind of wanted to have see more different ways of living. It's not necessarily religious in a way that she's, like this kind of nun or that kind of nun. It's more that when she says that she doesn't feel lonely, it only clicked for me when I met the actress who plays her, and she's a great actress, Laima Kavtaradze. And when she read the scene, I totally believed her when she said that she doesn't feel lonely. And before, when I was writing, I wasn't sure myself. Like, is she saying the truth, or if she's like saying it to herself? And when I believed it, I felt that, I don't know, I felt that I need that scene probably to kind of, just to see that many people can live differently. And I'm not a very big fan, let's say, of kind of looking for a sexuality in her necessarily, because I think it's just totally different path. Yeah, but she was just interesting for me.
Yes, here at the front. Maybe you can pass it forward.
Excuse me. Sveikinu, congratulations. Sumalanumo. I will translate later. Sorry, I will sign. That's lady. Sorry, forgive me. You did a really good job on Elena's mother. May I continue? Yes. Thank you. Firstly, Elena's mother proposed that she should play basketball. Krapshi, right? I should guess so krapshiningas. Right, sorry. Basketball, just as suited as at that time, I'm not going to mention the body, as ballet dancing. And then Luxembourg. I've never met a Lithuanian who's been to Luxembourg, so clearly had been exiled. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. I do know actually some Lithuanians who live in Luxembourg.
Well, you met me.
There was a lot of laughs actually when that scene was happening. It was pretty well appreciated. We have one in the back, yes.
Hi, can you walk us through your process of working with the actors? Is there any specific techniques or anything you like to share? Because they look really, really natural.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I worked a lot as a casting director, before, and I still do sometimes. So I really like to say that the most important thing is casting. And but of course we actually rehearsed a lot, and I think there were few things that helped us. One was time, because we made a casting more than 2 years before the actual production. So I was sharing my updated versions of screenplay with them. We would have some sort of, let's say, test shootings, like kind of short, meetings and filmings before the main production. So I kind of think that we were really preparing for them, because we had, let's say, few days of shooting in autumn, few days in winter that we never see in film, but we have some winter scenes. Yeah, with a lot of snow. Yeah, they were beautiful. But so I think time, and that we would meet at first not even for rehearsals, but just for talking, for also Kastas actor said at some point that he thought it's a little bit stupid. Like, why do we need to, let's say, work before, as much or meet? But then he said, no, it really made sense. Like, it really worked. And I think we just got a really strong bond over that time. We knew kind of, I don't know, just kind of got to know each other, and that helped then talking about the scenes, trying out scenes. Some things for sure, they kind of inspired me when I was, let's say, rewriting or still working on dialogue, working on rewrites. And then, let's say, rehearsing, I don't have any like specific method, but just probably, the main thing is, kind of, first of all, to talk a bit, just so that we realize that we know what the scene is about. And then we would try, and we would sometimes use improvisations just to kind of get into the mood, or again, to kind of create stronger bond. But yeah, or even when we were filming, I would say that we were very playful sometimes to, let's say, let's make this small. We had this thing that we called a small surprise. So let's say I would say something only to Greta. I would say, okay, I will tell her a small surprise, and he doesn't know what I told her, or the opposite. Of course, these were like mostly, let's say, put like just one small word or something like that. It couldn't be, of course, anything intimate, like, I'm going to kiss you. That would be kind of crossing the boundaries. But some things really came from that. Let's say even the even the fact that he tells her that he loves her, and she says, me too. That was the surprise. That was the improvisation. That wasn't written. And now later when I was watching the film, I was like, how could I think? Like, I was so surprised that I wasn't like even, that it wasn't on paper, because now it's obvious for me that it's like totally crucial line.
I remember reading that you also learned sign language together, 3 of you. How was that as part of your process of creating that bond?
Yeah. That definitely, I think, helped again with just, spending time. And we studied. I cannot say that we actually learned really well, but we did have some classes together. Then at some point we left Kastas and he stayed alone. But it was really interesting also to be together and learn together. But also we had a really good teacher who was deaf herself. So she not only taught us language, but she told us about the culture. Plus we were kind of forced to start talking, to at least try, because we didn't have any. It was right before pandemic, Then the pandemic hit and we kind of went to Zoom, and then we did need to have a translator, interpreter. But before, we would only meet with her. And that was a really interesting experience, because otherwise we would be scared to talk. But, you know, because we have a deaf teacher, we just have to try. Yeah, that was that world is also like very interesting, and the language is very beautiful.
Do you have any more wonders? Yeah, just in the back. Yes.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you think the process of filmmaking is actually making the film that imagined in your head? Yeah, or you think like working with actors and like DPs, they can bring a lot of unexpected surprise to the film?
I absolutely think that every like position, every creative person brings so much. Like the actors bring so much. Like every, you know, art director, costume designer, yeah, of course, cinematographer, composers, you know, sound, everything brings so much. And of course, I have my own vision in my head, but I think it's never very strict. Like I never know really, really clearly, let's say, okay, this chair has to be here or not other way, because I'm more interested what those people can bring, because all these people are artists, you know, so I don't know better than choreographer or than art director or than my, you know, DP. Like they have you know, way better ideas than me. That's a fact, because in their, you know, positions, they are professionals, they do this all the time. So I'm very interested, I'm very open, but also I think I feel quite well when some suggestions don't sound like from this film. Like I said, when we talk with the DPN, we're like, yeah, maybe it's not from our film. So I think in order to be open and to really kind of let everyone be free and suggest ideas, at the same time, you kind of have to really know when to say like, yeah, it's not maybe really like for this moment. Like, and also actors were kind of laughing at me because they said I have this kind of saying like, yes, it's a nice idea, but maybe no. Like, they had a good impression of me. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. It's closer, and then we'll come to you.
Labas. I guess the question is about asexuality, and I'm just curious how you was it something that did you know that you wanted to talk about it before writing the script, or was it something that you discovered as you were writing the script?
Yeah, I would say this was one of the things that I knew before writing. So I knew how they will meet. That means I knew their kind of jobs, what they are doing. And I knew that they have this, you know, difference, that he is asexual and that she is, you know, very passionate allosexual woman. Yeah, so I knew that right before starting, like before even writing, I did the main part of the research because, yeah, I knew I'm interested in that, but without research, I couldn't have started writing. But then at some point I had to like, okay, now I have to switch from research to writing. So then I went to writing, and then I kind of went back to research again to kind of rethink again, like, is it kind of, is it okay? Do I feel like it's problematic at some parts and so on? Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to ask another question?
Two parts, quite different. The first is intimacy. What's the word? Person.
Coordinator.
Coordinator. Thank you. The P word. Yes. Person. Yeah. Was that your idea or was that a corporate idea? And then the second question, which you may have put on the list, but locations. Thank you.
Yeah, intimacy coordinator. I was already like in the process of writing when I heard for the first time that this kind of position exists. And I thought, wow, I really would like to work with a person like that. But I didn't know, like, is it possible to find it? Is it like very expensive? I didn't know. And then like accidentally, I just found out that my colleague, Lithuanian filmmaker, Irma Pužauskaitė, she was like the first intimacy coordinator in Baltic countries. She was just like kind of finished studying, and she worked on some big projects. And I was like, yeah, can we work together? So I was really lucky that, you know, she was like so early in the, because it was not that easy to find someone. Now I think, of course, there are more, but it's still pretty new, you know, position. Yeah, so I was really happy that we had a person like that, and it was very enriching experience, and actors were so happy afterwards. Because when we started talking, I always kind of try to, even before, you know, we didn't rehearse, let's say, any intimate scenes, but I would just ask, like, okay, are there, you know, some things that maybe you are uncomfortable with, like kind of doing the thing that intimacy coordinator would do, because at first they talk, you know, about boundaries and so on. But with me, I could feel like, you know, the actors are like, no, everything's fine. Like, it's just, you really need that person
as a mediator of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. And so that they can really feel, yeah, open and just, you know, share, even though we have a really good, you know, relationship and really open with each other. But it was really, really, yeah, I was just really happy that we could work with her. And another part was
location. Where?
Oh, it's Vilnius.
Vilnius. Well, except Palanga or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, we had co-production with Spain and Sweden. So we had some creative people. We had a composer and choreographer from Spain. Yeah, from Sweden, sorry. And we had sound from Spain. Yeah. But everything is shot in Lithuania. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. We can pass it. Yeah, I think here in the middle.
Yeah, I really like this sign language part, like when it comes with the music. And like, I think it's really powerful and moving. Like, I'm just curious about like, how do you work out the sound, the music and the sign language? Is there like a specific sign language that you want to use? Like, which one comes first, or do they like sort of work at the same time? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's such a good question. Because we even had different interpreters for dialogue, sign language dialogue, and music, because there are like not all professionals of sign language, not all interpreters work with music, because interpreting music, it's like interpreting poetry. It's like a different just different kind of area. So the songs I chose, and I already like kind of put them in the screenplay, and then like this really talented interpreter translated them, and then they worked individually with cast, as she helped him a lot, because he said that for him it was like from the sign language the songs were the hardest, because one thing is that the structure of the sentence is different, and also you have to not only translate it like what it says, but you have to give the mood and the rhythm. Like, you have like the translation itself has to be like a visual performance in a way. And when we shot those scenes where he's interpreting songs, it was like maybe the second day of the whole production, and that was really beautiful. Like, some people from the team were even like after the scenes they were telling me like I even like cried a little bit just because and it makes sense because Kęstas also said something like he said I think that Dovydas is the most vulnerable in those scenes because in some ways you cannot really hide when you interpret because it's your job actually to show emotion and to be open because it's part of the grammar of the language, you know, to work with your face to really show how you feel. So it's really interesting.
Thank you. They're really beautiful.
Yeah, that's a very illuminating answer and gives us huge insight into the character, more than he is willing to give himself. But yeah, thank you for being a great audience, and join me in a round of applause for Marija and Slow.
Thank you so much.
The film is out tomorrow, officially in the UK. Tell your loved ones, your friends, everybody to go see Slow. Come and see it again. Yeah, take it from me. It's only better at rewatch. It's just fantastic. Thank you so much, Marija, and thank you to the Garden Cinema.
And thank you very much.